Hey, what's up, guys? It's Rico from the Made in China podcast, Source Find Asia and Enter China. Just wanted to wish you guys a happy new year, happy holidays. Hope you guys are having a good time with your family, reflecting on your businesses, on life, and planning out the next year. I hit quite a few of my goals. I'm going to do an episode in probably after Chinese New Year on goals like we did last year. And I was just checking some of my goals, and it's like, it's been a pretty good year for me. But enough about me. This episode, I interviewed Harrison Bevins. He's one of my closest friends in China. I think he's been in China now for just over a year. It's kind of crazy. I feel like he just got here. But we sat down, talked about what our first years were like in China. And I feel like it's a kind of a perfect episode to have at the end of the year when everybody's kind of reflecting on what's been going on in their lives. So without further ado, here's the episode.
I don't want to be a product of my environment. I want my environment to be a product of me.
So I guess I just wanted to do like podcast super casual. Let's talk about how long have you been in China, man?
So I came in December last year. So almost a year now. 10 months.
It's fucking crazy, huh?
Yeah. It's flown by. It's insane.
It's like I feel like you've been here for like 6 months, you know?
Yeah.
I think China does that.
Yeah, it's kind of bizarre, especially because Chinese New Year is like kind of right after I arrived, and that month just flew by. And
were you in China for Chinese New Year?
No, so I went to the Philippines with Carl and Gary for 2 weeks, and the whole country is pretty much on lockdown. They're not doing anything, or they're all traveling or whatever.
Yeah, I haven't spent a Chinese New Year in China. It's like I always I've been here like the week before, and it was just like everything shut down. All the stores were closed, all the mom and pop shops were disappeared. Overall, first impressions. Just if you could give me like a snapshot of your first impression, and then like what do you think of it now?
Of China in general?
Yeah, we'll get deeper, but I just wanted to like throw it out there.
I guess. I mean, it's kind of what I expected. First impressions are just like how vastly different it is here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just the way that people act, the behavior, like daily interactions, and then you're dealing with the whole language differences. So figuring out, the first 2 months, just figuring out how to order food correctly and like figure out how to use a subway, just basic like logistical things. First impression, was just crazy. Like being in China was just kind of blowing my mind. Yeah. And to compare it to now, obviously it's a lot more manageable. Like I know how to do stuff, figured out how to live. So yeah, it's good. I like it.
Yeah, it's like for me I actually recently found like this micro SD card that has like my first year in China essentially, like in videos, and I was like, whoa, man, it's so different. Like I remember I have like a video of my first day in China, and I was just like, I was in Guangzhou and I was overwhelmed, and then I found the Starbucks and I was like, oh, it's base. Let me get
Western.
Let me get a strawberry lemon iced tea.
At least they know a little bit of English at the Starbucks.
Yeah. I was like, because I mean everything else was just like I got into the metro, no one speaks English.
Yeah.
It's like, boom, and it's like fuck, so many people.
Yeah.
And I got off the metro because I was gonna fix my laptop. I got off the metro at this place in Ganding, which is like the computer center, and it's like, you know how here it's like they come in like, hey, come to my store, to my store. It's like a bunch of people grabbing at you, and I was like, fuck, no, leave me alone. But and then a year later, I would say the interesting thing, this guy I met, Keenan, he's a EC member, Inter China member, and I met him on my second day in China. And we kept in touch and whatever. He was kind of like a little bit of a mentor for me, like the first couple weeks and first couple months, really. But when I started teaching English, I started to get impatient with, because I wanted to start a business or whatever. I started to get impatient with just being here.
Mm-hmm.
And he always used to tell me like no one conquers China in a year.
Yeah. I'm learning that now.
So after my first year, it was like, oh, okay, I think I'm just beginning to like settle into this place. Like,
Right.
Yeah. So yeah. That being said, that time period versus now.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with what you just said. I mean, there's this feeling of like urgency that you kind of need to do everything so quick, and that's just not realistic.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that it takes, I mean, for 5-6 months, I didn't even know what I wanted to do. I was just trying to survive.
Yeah.
So finding teaching jobs, making money online, doing like random writing gigs. I'm still doing that type of stuff, but it took 6 months just to figure out like, okay, I found the path that I want to actually focus on, which is e-commerce, and like that's starting to tie into the FBA stuff or product development. But yeah, I don't see how. I mean, if you can get on your feet and start a business in a year with being here just 1 year, I think that'd be very impressive.
Yeah, man. There's just so much that you have to learn about the culture and like just settling into life in China.
Yeah.
Like you said, just surviving. Like for me, that was the same thing. My first 6 months was just like I didn't have a job for the first 2 or 3 months that I was here.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, I started looking for a job in my second month, got a job in my third month. And then from there it was like, okay, paying back certain debts and like things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, getting settled and now having a little bit of disposable income. Like now you want to do things that you couldn't do in the first 3 months, whatever.
Traveling
places, going to IFC Tower, like whatever.
Yeah.
So and then once you do that for a while, then you get bored of that. And then now it's like, okay, fuck, I need to actually push towards something,
Grow your business more, work harder.
Yeah. And interesting, I was talking to Carl about that just before you guys left. So by the way, Harrison and Carl and Gary moved to Taiwan for a bit. But just before you guys left, Carl was saying that he had this like feeling, like a bad feeling, or he had this thing like, oh, maybe it's not the right time to leave.
Yeah.
And I was saying to him, I was like, I feel like you guys or him or whatever, us in general, are just like at a stage right now where, some of the stuff that we're doing with EC, some of the people that we're meeting, and the friendships that we've established, whether it's not just even business friends, but like even girls, whatever. It's just like we're in a very interesting space, and I feel like something's about to happen.
Yeah.
So I was like, I really don't think this is the right time to leave.
To piggyback on that, it wasn't. It's funny. I had the same gut feeling, and we all had admit that. Like, me and Carl discussed this like 2 weeks ago. This is what ultimately made us come back to Guangzhou, because we both admit that like we knew deep down it probably wasn't a good idea, and we kind of were thinking it, but it's like we'd all already agreed.
Yeah.
It was stupid. We should have talked about it and like maybe not have been so headstrong about the decision, but so many big things were already set in place that it, like we couldn't really back out. Like plane tickets were bought. We were already trying to get out of our apartment. So yeah, it wasn't the smartest decision, but learned a lot, and it gave me perspective, which is the most important thing about Guangzhou and China.
I was gonna say, I think that I wouldn't say it wasn't a smart decision, because I mean, ultimately, what did you lose? Like, I think you gained way more than you.
Yeah. I mean, I learned how important it is to be actually in China for what we're trying to do. You can't do that in Taiwan. Like it's an hour 45-minute plane ride away, but it's just not the same as being here on the ground. Speaking with the people who are doing the same type of business, rubbing shoulders with young entrepreneurs who are all trying to do similar things, talking every day, getting new ideas. So that was the biggest takeaway I got about moving away for 7 weeks. So glad to be back though.
And I also just like, I think Carl mentioned and Gary mentioned just like how Taiwan is a little bit, Taipei was a little bit slower.
It absolutely is.
Than
Yeah.
Guangzhou, yeah.
That was getting to me, because like I do like a slow paced life, but I feel like at this point in my life, I can't afford to be going slow.
Yeah.
Like just since I've been back for 2 weeks, I feel like I've done so much shit in 2 weeks compared to like the 6 weeks that I was there, 7 weeks that I was there. So it's just a faster pace here.
It's just a pace, yeah. Like, I mean, I was talking about, it was like when I get out of my apartment in the morning and I'm walking towards the office, there's like 100 people around me going towards their respective businesses or whatever. It's just like you just see that bustle, you hear the sounds of the city. You come into the office, see people like settling in, and you're looking around skyscrapers, all this shit, and it's like it creates this vibe where you wanna hustle.
That's exactly it. It has a vibe of like getting shit done. Yeah. Taiwan doesn't have that vibe.
As even recently with the Canton Fairs, like all these events happening, and people going to this place, people going to that place, and a certain aspect is like I want to go to those places, but I can't afford to take the time to do that.
Right.
So then that also pushes me to like hustle more.
Yeah.
Whereas I think if I was in a slower spot, it might just be very relaxed and just like.
There was too many activities to do. I mean, it's a great place. It was an awesome country, but to me, it's like a great place to go visit or retire. But if you're trying to start a business or trying to work hard, it's not exactly the best place to be.
What do you think was the hardest thing for you adjusting to life in China? Like, what do you think was the one thing that you just, when you got over that, you were able to kind of settle it?
I mean, I think culturally, those differences were the most aggravating. Like I've traveled to a lot of different places in the world, and so like I don't really get culture shock, but getting used to the way that people behave here took some time, and just accepting that's how the Chinese are. And it's not like I was getting mad at like people like taking it personally, certain things like pushing on the subway or just like the cold stares and stuff like that. But then I learned to accept it. This is how they're raised. Like they don't think that they're being rude or being a dick. It's just like that they don't know.
Yeah.
It's just how we perceive it from our culture that it's rude. So accepting that and getting over that was big. The next thing that has been the most annoying is the air quality. Pollution sucks. So the winter, there was like 3 weeks I remember where you couldn't see the sky, and that was pretty sad. But the summer was actually pretty nice. Like I enjoyed the summer. Was
solid. Yeah. It was solid. Yeah, it was interesting. Like, it was some days where it was really, I was like, oh, this is a very blue sky.
Yeah.
The
summer, I swear, we had like several weeks in a row where the pollution wasn't bad at all. I was like actually enjoying living here. It was cool.
I mean, they're trying to make changes with that. I think I heard like in Beijing they're developing, I don't know what it was called, but some sort of, I don't know, vacuum that could clear up
the air.
About
that.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. That's real.
They're testing it out in Beijing, and then they want to roll it out to the bigger cities.
Yeah.
I think for me, it was maybe not the cultural stuff. I think it was more just like once I was able to create a like comfortable system around me, which what I mean by that is like eating food, like finding the right places to eat food, getting a nicer apartment, like things like that, and then just having like my friends,
the routine.
Yeah, the routine.
Yeah,
that's when I was able to kind of get comfortable here. So I mean, that was probably just about a year after I was here. Like,
yeah,
because I went through phases. There's a Wikipedia article. I don't think that's where it's from, but it was just basically like the 5 or 4 stages of culture shock, and I don't remember all the stages, but it was like the first one is like euphoria, like you're just excited to be there, and the second one is like you start to get homesick or something like that, and then the third one was like frustration because you're fighting resentment because you're resisting the culture that you're in, and then the fourth one was like acceptance, when you let go of the resistance and you accept yourself, and then the fifth one is like assimilation.
Okay, yeah. I think I've heard about that.
Yeah,
when I studied abroad, I read something like that exactly.
I think right now I'm in the acceptance stage.
Yeah,
assimilation would require me to learn how to speak Mandarin fluently.
Right. It's down the road.
Yeah. How do you feel about, you're in China, and like, how do you feel about not being able to speak the language fluently at this stage?
I mean, it's fun. It's like some things are frustrating, of course, but I mean, it depends on every person, but for me, like I'm trying to actively learn the language. When I was in Taiwan, I did a 4-week intensive course, and before that, I was doing just like self-study. So, I mean, I can do basic things. I can take a taxi. I can order food. Those things are fine. Yesterday, I was sitting on a bench and was talking to a Chinese guy. Although it was like broken Chinese and having issues, it was still, that type of stuff is very gratifying for me. So it's, for me right now, frustrating, but also really fun, I guess is the best way I could describe it.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool when you're able to understand and connect with somebody that's just completely, this dude has lived a completely different life from you, right? And so, you're speaking to them in their language, and then you're able to communicate. I remember it's like I'll get hyped when I was in a taxi, and a taxi driver asked me where I'm from, and I ask him where he's from. Are you married?
You kind of ask about their story, and they're just blown away because they're like, "How does this foreigner know
he's like
Chinese? Is crazy."
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, do you like Chinese women?" I'm like, "Yeah, they're beautiful." He's like, "Yeah, I know." I was like, "Oh shit." Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting. Like, for me, I want to learn, and I know I can learn. Like, whenever I put my mind to it, it's just time.
Yeah.
It's just taking the time.
You got priorities right now. I for kind of what you're saying as far as time goes, I try to use like space in between things where I can't do anything, like being on the subway and stuff. I'll just like use the apps, like to practice different words and stuff. Just basically anytime I have free time where I can't do anything else, I'll, what's the book, The Slight Edge.
Slight Edge.
Yeah, just doing a little bit every day. It's like, you might not think you're making progress, but even 10 minutes, if you're doing it every single day, it does add up.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Like, and I was trying to do it before. Yeah, but maybe I was a little bit too aggressive, but I was doing like an hour out of my day.
Yeah.
And then at some stage, I was like, I can't spend an hour doing this. There's so much other shit that I have to do.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it's just like that habit, and then maybe the discipline of it. Like, I need like a Chinese teacher to come.
Yeah, that's huge.
Whip my ass into shape. Like it's not like going to the gym is different, because like maybe the first 2-3 months is like you're getting back into the habit, and you're maybe not seeing that many results, but I think it's actually quicker to see those results like in 6 months or 4 months.
Right.
Results, and then from there it's just like you like it, and it's a habit, and you feel good. Your body literally releases endorphins every time you do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for Chinese, you definitely, like, if you want to become fluent or conversational, you have to have a tutor.
Yeah, you have to have a tutor.
You got to have somebody, or, I mean, a Chinese girlfriend or something. You got to have somebody that you're talking to every single day.
I don't agree with the Chinese girlfriend thing, unless she doesn't speak English, because she's going to want to practice English. Like,
yeah, but to me, so I'll give you, my example is my girlfriend's Korean, but she speaks Chinese, and her English isn't that good.
Yeah.
So we speak a broken mix of Chinese and English, which, like, I've learned a ton just from her. And then, I don't know, just when you're hearing her say stuff all the time in Chinese, and she's on the phone with her boss or employees speaking Chinese, being around it all the time, like, you definitely pick up more than you would otherwise. That's what I've noticed.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if she doesn't speak English, then yeah.
Yeah, if your girlfriend speaks perfect English, then you're just going to resort to that.
Because they just want to practice English, man. Like, that's what it comes down to. Oh, I want to practice my English. Why would I speak in Chinese? It's like, okay. Yeah, so, but yeah, same thing for me with just being, I'm like engrossed in China life, whatever. Like, every day my employees are Chinese.
Yeah.
I'm in an office with a bunch of other Chinese people, and just hearing it on a daily basis, like, I'm picking up words. Like, there's words that I hear consistently. And then, what was a word recently that I learned? I was like, I heard it a shit ton.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is this word, man? And then I figured it out just from, like, hearing it a lot and then the context.
Yeah.
And then I just asked my friend, does this word mean this? And they're like, yeah. And I was like,
yeah, that's how you learn, man. That's it.
So, I mean, that's a big part of it as well. Is like, if you have not just studying it, but then maybe engrossing yourself into the culture.
Being around it every day.
What's your favorite thing about China first year?
Favorite thing is, I don't know how good of an answer this is going to be, but I like how there's not no rules, but there's less rules.
Zero fucks given.
I like the chaotic atmosphere.
Yeah.
And like,
I fucking love it as well.
The thing that it's not that there's no regulations, but everything is so. It's the weirdest like contradiction, because it seems like there would be so many regulations and so strict, but at the same time, no one gives a shit about anything.
It's too many people, man.
Yeah, so like
too many people to manage.
I'll give you an example. We went to Taiwan, and there will be a crosswalk with no cars coming, and people, no matter what, will wait for that light to turn green. And so seeing that contrast, I was like, holy shit! I was like, this is driving me nuts. Because being in China, you can run across the freeway and nobody gives a fuck.
Whenever you want to.
Like, I remember the other day, I was riding on the back of a motorcycle to get to some place, and there's just like, there's scooters going the wrong way on the street, and like, I was looking around, and I was like, wow, I kind of love this. Like, this is addicting.
Yeah.
It's just like, no rules. You can do whatever the fuck you want. You can be the person that you want to be. Like, you can literally build anything you want here. Like, you have so many resources at your disposal. That to me is kind of like the most exciting, my favorite thing.
Yeah, great. Just going off of that, like I remember the same guy Keenan. One of the things that he said to me that you just reminded me of was like, you can be anybody you want to be when you get to China.
Yeah.
Like, forget all the stuff that, like, I mean, a lot of dudes who come here maybe have, you know, been working for 5, 6, 7 years, and you know they've developed this idea of who they are as a person. It's like, you can leave all that behind once you get to China and like start afresh. You know, you might be making the same amount of money teaching as you were in your old job, but working half the hours, and then you know the cost of living is like half of what it was. So now you're in like the 10% of people in China making that amount of money.
A lot of teachers are balling out here.
Balling out, man. People, you know. So it's just like things like that, and then the chaotic nature, man. Zero fucks given in China, man.
Yeah.
Like, and I love it as well, and I talk about that as it's like just it's a really simple example is like in Canada there's a LCBO in Ontario. There's a LCBO, which is the Liquor Control Board of Ontario, and if you want to buy booze, you have to go to there to buy booze. Like they don't sell booze in convenience stores and stuff like that.
Oh, like a liquor.
It's a liquor store, but it's owned by the.
My state was like that.
It's owned by the province, right? So like, and then they own it. That's the only place where you can sell that. There's a couple other places where they sell wine, like specific wine stores.
Yeah.
But you can't just go into a convenience store, 7-Eleven, and buy booze, right?
Yeah.
And they close usually between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. You know, so it's like if you're if you're hosting a party, for example, you go buy booze at 7, and then your party starts at 9, 10, whatever, 12 o'clock in the morning. You run out of alcohol.
There's nothing you can do.
There's nothing you can do.
Yeah,
you're fucked. You just go home, like, or you hope that people brought booze or whatever. It's like it's just things like that, and it's a very simple example, but like in China, it's like I could buy booze whatever fucking time I want to buy. Literally just go to the convenience store downstairs.
Wine, vodka, whiskey, whatever.
Yeah. It might be fake, but
probably is.
Probably is. Yeah, you might
drink it on the street if you want.
Drink it on the street. No one's gonna say anything. You know, just get arrested in Canada for drinking on the streets. Yeah. But it's just like those kind of things. Those are the first, especially when you're younger and you arrive. It's like, oh wait, I can just drink on the streets. No one's gonna say anything.
Yeah.
It's like I don't have to put this into like a plastic bag or a fake Coca-Cola bottle.
It's like total freedom, man.
Yeah, and then like you're talking about crossing the street, like dudes. This is something that I think shocks people when they first get into China. Is like when it's in the summer, you see these dudes on the subway who just kind of like lift up their shirts and let their bellies hang out.
Oh god,
I respect those guys, man.
I think it's hilarious.
I respect those guys. I'm like, man, I wish.
Patting their bellies.
Sure, he was just hanging out, man. He gives no fucks. He's like, I don't care. And that breeds like a certain mentality in your mind as well to kind of push your dreams forward and your business ideas forward.
Yeah, without thinking too much about what people think about you or outside influences.
Yeah, I think that just comes down to there's just too many people for the government to manage. So I mean, they focus on the rules that are important to them, which is controlling information.
Yeah,
and then everything else is like you figure it out.
Yeah. I think that's pretty accurate.
Yeah. Where else have you traveled besides Guangzhou?
So when I first got here, like after 3 weeks, I went to Vietnam for 10 days and traveled all around Vietnam with a buddy from back home. And then I went to the Philippines over Chinese New Year. And then I mean, frequently go back and forth to Hong Kong, obviously, visa runs. And Hong Kong is just a good time. Maybe a little too expensive at times, but it's still a good time nonetheless.
I gotta go to Hong Kong next week anyways.
Yeah. And then, where else? And then Taiwan in April. That was kind of what made me decide I wanted to go live there. I was also frustrated with Guangzhou at the time. But, yeah, those are... Next year I want to go to Korea and Japan, like, for sure. So, just trying to make some money so I can do that.
What's the plan with trying to make money?
So, I have an e-commerce store, e-commerce business. I have a store online that I sell jewelry to the US. I advertise with Facebook. So I'm currently still just testing new products and learning as much as I can. I started only 5 months ago. I feel like even if I wasn't making any money off this, just the amount of information I've learned through like trial and error is invaluable. So I'm going to just try to keep developing this and eventually get into custom products. Or I'm also interested in FBA because it's a little bit more passive. I don't have to be monitoring Facebook ads, but learning how to use Facebook ads has been really useful. So I'm going to keep doing that for now.
FBA is fucking gold rush.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? It's interesting because I guess when you first got here, you didn't want to do physical products at all, right?
Yeah.
That's what China does, man. They just kind of, it gets to you.
What happened is, like, I was talking to Carl about this, is I didn't have like all the pieces put together. Like, to me, it was a puzzle that I didn't know how to solve. Like, physical product business sounded just so complex, and I didn't understand how all the parts worked. And the more I was here, more I learned and spoke to people, and then, you know, the more blogs and stuff I was reading, I kind of put it all together, and that's when I realized that I could do my own store and drop ship products from China. And the more I've been doing this, I'm like, okay, I know how to go to a factory and ask them to do a mock-up of a sample. Like, you kind of start to see how everything works and how all the pieces move together to make something successful, or to make it work. I don't know if it'll be successful or not, but yeah, and it's very intriguing because there's a lot of creativity that you need to do. You're basically you get all the aspects of starting a business from scratch. So that's what's appealing to me about it.
Yeah, I mean, just going off of that is like, even with I was talking to you guys when we did our like mastermind yesterday. It's like when I have a lot of FBA customers, and they're learning that Amazon is, to be competitive now, they have to come up with original products.
Right, yeah.
And then you guys were starting off from the marketing side and not caring about the products, but then you're also learning you have to come up with original products.
Yeah,
it's weird how everything comes
coming down to, man.
Yeah.
Nobody wants cheap shit.
It's just the competition, man. Just the way Amazon opened it up, like with FBA, it's created this thing where, you know, it's a beast. There's listings there that I remember Chris Davey was talking about this at our Canton Fair meetup. He was talking about a specific product that had like 5 listings when he joined it, and now it's got like 200,000 or something. Holy shit. It's like within the space of months.
Damn.
Right? It's like when people see a certain niche open up, it's fucking over, man.
Sucks.
It's over. So you want to get in there
it's
early.
Part of the game.
Yeah, and then the thing as well is like Amazon is teaching. Like, they literally have seminars where they teach Chinese manufacturers how to sell on Amazon. You know,
that's the scary part.
Yeah. But he was, man, one knowledge bomb that he dropped. It's completely random, but I thought it was very interesting. He was talking about how the Chinese sellers are doing on Amazon, and he was like, something that they do which is very indicative, I think, of Chinese culture, and this is why China has developed so quickly, is they'll so you have like your inventory in the warehouse in Amazon.
Yeah.
What they'll do is they'll send, let's say they make 5,000 units, they'll have 4,000 in China in a warehouse, and then they'll have like 1,000 in the Amazon warehouse. Or they'll have 4,000 in a US warehouse separate from Amazon, and then every day, let's say they sell 50 units or 25 units every day they'll literally check the listing, see how much they sold, and then ship that exact amount to the Amazon warehouse. So now the advantage of that is, one, they never overstock.
Yeah.
Two, if something happens with their listing where they get a complaint or, there's some product quality issue, they can pull the listing off of Amazon without like having 5,000 units being stuck in the FBA warehouse.
I see.
Because a lot of times when your product is stuck in Amazon, there's nothing you can do about it. So they have that separate. So they're protecting themselves, and then they can, if they have the stuff in China, they can actually just return it to their supplier and like fix that issue before they can nip it in the bud and fix it before anything crazy happens.
Right.
Which I thought was like fucking.
Yeah. Crazy.
But it takes work. It takes you having somebody there checking your listing every day, making sure that they're shipping out the right amount of units and monitoring.
Yeah, you gotta have somebody on top of that.
But like I said, that to me that's like summarizing the way Chinese people approach business in like a nutshell. Is just like that, like working your ass off, figuring out ways to like hack the system.
Yeah.
And then, no one else is spending that amount of time. Yeah. So, I think it's going to be interesting, and I'm interested to see what's going to happen with FBA in the future.
I think it's a little frightening because, I can't remember who was talking about this, but since all the manufacturers are going straight to Amazon and undercutting basically everyone else, branding becomes like super important.
Yep.
And if some way to differentiate yourself is really the only way that you can stand the chance, like whether it's custom packaging or an awesome logo or whatever. But I think that's, if you're just selling like a generic thing right now that you source from China and you're jacking up the price and selling it on Amazon, that's not going to last. I don't think.
Yeah. I mean, I think the one advantage that Westerners have is that it's cultural.
We understand the market.
It's the market, the culture. Yeah. That's something that they can't, like a Chinese manufacturer can't learn in a year. It's going to take them maybe decades to.
They don't even know how to market to Chinese.
Yeah. So now you're incorporating the language barrier, and then you're incorporating the marketing tactics. It's going to be a long time before they actually completely dominate that. I would say what's interesting now is a lot of Western marketing services are trying to tailor their services to the Chinese manufacturers.
Yeah.
So I think what might happen is like you have more services from the West being provided to the East, and then the Chinese manufacturers are selling the products directly to their consumers. I think that's most likely what's going to happen. But then there'll always be like brands that just dominate,
right.
Getting right now. Yeah. But it's definitely trending in that direction. I mean, you have suppliers putting up Kickstarter campaigns, like
that's wild.
It's inevitable, man.
Yeah, it's gonna take time for that trust to build, though, too.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how. I mean, Western shoppers, I don't think are super trustworthy of Chinese goods.
Yeah,
as it is. So that's where the Western services come in.
That's where the Western services come in. And there's ways around that, right? So, for example, with like the big brands like Gucci and Fendi and whatever, all these Italian brands, they say that their stuff is made in Italy, right? It's bullshit. Like, in order for a shoe to, I don't remember what the exact percentage is. I talked about it with this guy Ryan Flynn. I think it was episode 29. He broke it down. It's like, in order for a shoe to be considered genuine leather or like made in Italy, it's like it has to just be like 10% of the shoe, which could be like could be the sole. It could be like it could be like the laces or whatever, and then that could be just done in Italy when they receive the shoes, and then they can just say made in Italy.
I did not know that.
Yeah, same thing with Swiss made watches. Same thing, and there's different categories. So there's like made in Switzerland, there's Swiss made, things like that. And I was talking to this guy Patrick. He's from Switzerland, and he used to sell watches. He's like, if it's Swiss made, all you have to do is like add the fucking dial in Switzerland, and then you put Swiss made, and it's done. But everything else was done in China. The materials were China, like the movement.
They just have really good quality control.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
They've been doing it forever.
So it's like there's just certain things that you have to do. So like, I think that's probably what could happen in the future. Is like if you want the product to say made in America, made in the US, made in Canada, made in the UK, it'll just be like
one aspect
of it. Yeah. You know.
That's big though. That's a big selling point. You know, that's what makes people trust a brand over others.
Yeah, I mean, people could start doing that right now. I have a client at the moment who's shipping to Amazon, and he's going to add something into his product in the US, so that he can say, you know,
Smart.
US made. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on? You might have missed.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't have anything on my mind.
All right.
It's been a busy 2 weeks since we returned, so it's good. Feels good to be back and working hard.
Back in Guangzhou.
Yeah.
Back hustling. By the way, it's Saturday. You know, we're working in the office. You know,
Yep.
so back on the grind.
Doesn't stop.
All right, guys. It's another episode of the Made in China podcast. Almost forgot the name of the podcast. If you wanna reach out to me, you can reach out to me at info@sourcefindasia.com. Of course, if you wanna listen to if you wanna read the show notes and like all the stuff that we talked about in the podcast, go to sourcefindasia.com/made in China. Deuces.
House so empty, need a centipede.